He'd also just be bad for the country because he'd move the Democrats yet further. They're not resisting very much anyway, but he'd move them yet further leftward and deny the country a choice of opposition government or a choice of government.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here with Editor-in-Chief Hugo Gurdon. Hugo, Zohran Mamdani appears to be poised to win in the New York City mayoral race in just a week or two from now. And that has prompted some pressure on the Republican candidate in the race, who was sort of a novelty, no expectation of winning, to drop out and allow some of his votes to drift to Mamdani's only other serious competitor. But you write in your column this week about how that sort of smacks of desperation, right?
Well, I think that the opponents of Mandani, and I mean not just the two candidates, Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa, but also a lot of people who really fear that Mandani would damage New York and do it really considerable damage, are getting desperate because he's cruising, it seems to be, towards a victory. He won the Democratic primary very handily, beat Andrew Cuomo in that. He's now ahead in the polls. I think it's sort of like 41-32 in the polls. It's November 4th, which is only, as you say, a week or two away. He looks like he's going to be the next mayor, and I think there's every reason to believe that he will be extremely damaging, not just for New York, where he promises to introduce socialism, socialist policies such as government-run grocery stores, free buses, things which have been tried elsewhere and never have worked. But he's also very divisive. He's he's a sort of supporter of the Intifada, globalizing the Intifada. He's a deeply, I think, anti-Semitic. And that New York has a big Jewish population. So there are various ways in which I think he would be bad for the city. He'd also just be bad for the country because he'd move the Democrats yet further. They're not resisting very much anyway, but he'd move them yet further leftward and deny the country a choice of opposition government or a choice of government of parties that are sort of within hailing distance, within sight of the traditional values of the country.
What does it say about the state of the modern Democratic Party that someone so far left is sort of their only and their biggest rising star at this moment, when they're still trying to figure out how they lost working class voters?
Well, it says that they are still moving in a radical direction. They are still controlled by sort of gentry liberals rather than by working class. They're not really as interested in the blue collar vote as they used to be, which of course is why that vote went very radically and dramatically towards the Republicans in general and towards Trump in particular. It also shows, and because the brand of politics that the leader, Mandani, actually pushes is most popular with people of a younger age. It shows what's happened to our education system, which is saturated in left-wingery and pushing radicalism. And every year there is a new reservoir. The reservoir of left-wing voters is filled and replenished with people coming out of colleges. There's more and more young people who actually now favor socialism, and on the Democratic side, favor for socialism is very much on the rise and far outstrips favor for free market capitalism.
In your piece, you cite some really interesting polling that shows a really stark divide between the candidate preferences of foreign-born New Yorkers and native-born New Yorkers.
Yes. Patriot polling came out with a poll on the 20th of October, so just a few days ago, which showed that although Mandani has a lead of it's like 40 to 31, something like that in overall. Amongst native-born Americans, he's behind by about that. But amongst foreign-born New Yorkers, and there are 3 million foreign-born people living in New York, he's ahead 62 to 24. So the thing that I think is notable about that is that he's very popular amongst those who, on average, probably have lived less time in the United States, and who, at the beginning of their lives, were growing up as members of a foreign country and a foreign nationality. Amongst the people who were born here and grew up as Americans right from the start, he's less popular, and indeed Cuomo is more popular. So it also says the extraordinary influence of immigrants and immigration and a sort of free immigration policy on the Democratic Party. It also perhaps demonstrates some of the effects of the open border policies that brought 5 million immigrants into the country, 5 million illegal immigrants into the country during the Biden era.
Well, Hugo, thank you so much for being here today. You can get more from Hugo and the rest of the commentary team at washingtonexaminer.com.